to the start. 55th running of the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. This is going to be a mighty battle up front. Beautiful day here in Florida. The rain, the wind has cleared. We have ideal conditions for the beginning of 2007 American Le Mans Series. Brabham was keen to go, but it's Biela who takes the flag in the Sebring 12 Hour. It's Audi into the first turn.
One thing these guys got to watch out for, it rained really hard all last night. This racetrack is an unknown quantity right now. It's a green racetrack, not a lot of grip, as all the rubber's been washed away.
See Dario Franchitti there locking up under braking to the outside of the Highcroft machine. The last thing those Acura cars want to do is to take each other out on the first lap.
Well, look at all these cars. That's like 5 or 6 cars that have started from pit road.
That probably is because they didn't present their cars to the grid in proper timing. And so there's one of the spins on a Tafel car. The 71 has not made contact with anything.
It's Hensler behind the wheel right now, starting that event. So disappointing start for that team. GT2 promises to be such a great battle here today.
Wolf Henser qualified very well. Damage to the front of that Tafel Racing Porsche. Big excitement in that organization. This is their first ALMS race. Chris?
Dorsey, you were just saying how green the racetrack is with all the rain we've had this week, and I spoke with Michelin this morning. They said that they are advising the teams in the first pit stops to change tires. Typically, we see teams trying to double stint those tires, decrease the amount of time they spend in pit lane, but since it is a green racetrack, they want to take a look at the tire wear. So please, pull those tires off the first time you come to pit lane.
Dramas for the Autocon car. It stopped reportedly on the pace lap and got going again, but now for Mike Lewis, Chris McMurray and Brian Willman, they're in pit lane.
But they're working on the wing, which has nothing to do with why the car stopped. I don't really understand that. It looked like they were making a wing adjustment down there.
That's very strange, unless they got pushed and maybe tweaked that main element from one of the corner workers.
Guys, you were talking about the track conditions right now. I checked in with several of the teams. They believe the track will start with a bit of understeer, and as the rubber gets laid down, the track will come back to them. So it's going to be a challenge for these guys to find a setup that works well enough now, but doesn't make the car way too loose later in the day.
Biela leads the way at the end of the first lap from Capello. Timo Bernhard in the Penske Porsche sits third. Top of the P2 class, then the first of the Dysons with Andy Wallace on board.
And Andy Wallace and this whole Dyson crew are just so ecstatic about this championship season with this new Porsche race car. And the nice thing is the drivers are actually talking to each other. Elio Castroneves the other day was talking to Chris Dyson about setups and stuff. So there's really a sharing of the information, Dorsey, which makes a big difference.
You know, the open wheel guys are highly excited about these high-tech cars. They haven't driven these cars before they got here, and they say, wow, these are really cool cars. And, you know, they've never been deceiving Helio at the beginning, how excited he was to be with all the people and so forth. He said he always watched it but never did it.
Great story out of Andretti Green is that when back at the camp in Indianapolis, the headquarters, when they offered them, they said, hey, who wants to work on this sports car program? Hands went up everywhere from the guys from the IndyCar series side of things. There's the Ray Hall Letterman Porsche on pit road.
Well, this is kind of strange. Not any hurry to work on it for some reason. Ralph Kellner's behind the wheel.
Guys, got to push it back to the garage and change the front radiator.
Oh, no.
Well, it sounds like maybe they hold a radiator, a rock, or some debris, possibly.
Ralph, is the temperature okay to go back to the garage?
It only shows low water level.
Let's try to drive it back to the garage so we can get there quickly.
Ralph Kellner starting the car for Ray Hall Letterman Racing. Andrew, what do you see?
I can confirm that this is definitely a water leak. There's a load of water under the car, steam coming out the front, and I'm sure they're going to push it to the back. Just a quick update on the 71 Tafel car that tagged a Ferrari, but they decided to leave that car out. But obviously problems here for Rahal. What a way to start their sports car campaign.
Well, you wonder if there's debris from that. Obviously some contact down there in the S's on the early lap, Dorsey. Maybe a piece of that got into that radiator grill. Yeah,
those Porsches have a pretty vulnerable radiator. It's right there behind the front tire, front end there. And maybe a stone got up there, we don't know. But obviously that's a bad break for Rahal.
First time since Road America last year that the two Audis were on the front row of the grid. They're making the most of it. Capello is conscious of where Timo Bernhard is behind him. And in comes the Peterson White Lightning Ferrari.
Wow, this is drama in the early laps. This is a 12-hour event. You don't need issues in the opening laps. Damage there to the front of that Ferrari.
That's right, Calvin. You can see it looks like they're going to have to replace the front under tray on Thomas Enga's car here. Major damage to this right front corner. Looks like Enga probably got into the back of another car out on the racetrack. It wasn't the Rahal car because their damage was also on the front end. So White Lightning having a little bit of a hard start to their year with this new Ferrari. But the team, obviously, these guys know what they're doing. They're going to get the car repaired as quick as possible. They're probably going to have to replace this front under tray because it is dragging around the racetrack.
And that front under tray is not something that you just replace easily. That's a big, long time fix right there.
They started the year last year, Lee, with a problem in the first round, really struggled their way through this event, but dug themselves out of that hole and got to the championship once again. But this is not the start you need with the competition in this class this year.
Oh, you can't believe it. First time in 53 sports car races they have not entered in a Porsche. It's their first one in a Ferrari, and it is not going to plan. Respective class leaders, well, you can discount Kellner's. He is behind pit wall.